I just want to summarise for the week just past. We had an eventful week. The CAD continues to trundle along in this range, bouncing between 9900 and 100 roughly. We had another winner here last week. We had another winner here. We had another winner here. We actually had one here because, if you recall, if we're looking for 9900 for an entry, we actually place our order 9910. We had another winner yesterday, and I have just shorted again now from this pin bar reversal candle at this 100 line once again. I'm actually in 99.90. Therefore, if we are trading horizontal ranges like this, then we keep going until something happens. If price breaks out of one of these ranges, then we look to make a different plan. Until it does, we just carry on doing the same thing we've been doing, because this has won consistently now for over a month, which for the CAD is extremely unusual. This is the British pound, and last week I've shown you how in recent weeks we have had loads of trades at this bottom trend line. Each one has made 170 pips, and each one has only required a small stop of 20 odd pips. So the risk reward is awesome. What happened as the week progressed? Finally, price broke. Now this was news related, and there are a number of options here, and next week I will deal with how to trade around the news. On the British pound here, you can see the price came down. It did spike through and it looked as though we were on for a break, but then it stopped. So you would have been quite valid to take the trade here. Had you taken the trade, you have lost 25 pips. Considering how many 170 pip wins that you've had here, then that is irrelevant. However, you could have kept out of a loser here if you have a look at the Euro USD. This was FOMC news, and this is a publication by the Fed, and in recent months there's been very little activity from this particular news announcement. But what happened this week? The euro, as we know, was doing the same as the pound, bouncing very nicely off this bottom trend line. Suddenly the FOMC news came out, and the news announcement was much better for the dollar than expected, and price simply hurtled through this bottom trend area. And again, I mentioned to you in an earlier video about correlation. The pound and the euro are usually going in the same direction, and we will cover that in more detail next week. So that was a big clue that price was going to carry on down. And a further clue was the Swissy. Look what the Swissy did. Same scenario, bang! We had finally a major break above 9100, and if you recall earlier in the week I said I wasn't getting involved in longs around here. I would wait until price broke above 9100. Now you wouldn't have got in here either, because at the end of such a huge move it's quite normal that price will consolidate, as it was. On this occasion it kept going. Where has it come back down to? Almost to this previous support and resistance line. So this was a major news related explosive move. I will cover how to trade around the news in a video next week. This is the Euro GBP, and similar scenario to the CAD. We have had major bounces now going back well over a month, and we have simply been longing around 8300 because price has consistently bounced off this area. What happened? The FOMC news came out, price piled through and then stopped to the pip at a bottom trend area that I have here. Why did it stop to the pip here? Then let's have a look across to the left. Because here, back in January, it did it before, and if you scroll all the way back to September, it did it again. Therefore, support and resistance, even though we've had an explosive move, support and resistance has still held and has been the area where price has stopped. What do we do next? Well, price has broken a major area. What normally happens is price will come back and test that area again before then continuing to fall away. So I am very interested, and I have an order in on my live account and also here on this small demo at 82.90 for a short on the Euro GBP. And further confirmation for this, if I attach a fib from the recent low to the recent high, spookily, what do we have? We have the 50% fib in exactly the same area as this previous area of support and resistance, and therefore I have placed my order and now it's fingers crossed time. I didn't show you before, but a very similar scenario here on the Euro USD. 3200, 3196 has been major recent support and resistance. Once again, if we fib the recent low to the recent high, spookily again, 50% fib, it is in exactly the same area, and therefore after a major breakout I am expecting a pullback to this area with a view to a further short. I will cover the subject of breakouts in later videos. So what do we do next? This is the dollar yen, and I showed you in an earlier video how since the turn of the year we have had a major move up in a channel very similar to the pound and the Euro USD. What happened? Well, last week price broke through. This is the 4-hour chart. Started to move down, and if you recall, 8200 was the area I was suggesting for potential bounces back up. Why? Because it was major support and resistance. But we are now in a new channel. I have zoomed back in now and you can see clearly we are in a downtrend. The price is coming up to this top area, bouncing off and coming down to the bottom area, and it's just done it spookily to the pip and bounced back off. 8100 whole number is an obvious area of support. I am only looking now for shorts, and I am looking at this upper area here. I would prefer that price later in the week gets up here and we hit the intersection of the upper trend line and 8200. But as price gets up to 8200, if it does, then I will be looking for clues, candlesticks, Fibonacci, etc. for a move back down here again. Fibonacci is not quite as clear on here, but we have the 61.8 at 81.90 and the 78.6 at 82.19, and therefore an entry at 82 with the stop above the 78.6 and a conservative stop above the upper trend line. But even then you would only be looking at a 30 odd pip stop for a potential move down of 120. So 1 to 3, 1 to 4 risk reward ratio again. You do not need many wins in a week to be highly profitable. We have covered quite a lot of ground this week. If you are completely new to Forex, then do not panic. There is no rush. You do not have to go on to the next week. You can simply concentrate and go over repeatedly the videos so far. For the more experienced amongst you, I am going to develop the theme a little more next week, and we're going to look at some amendments to this strategy, and we're going to look at adding extra indicators. You may decide you don't want to add any more. You may be quite content with the strategy we've shown so far. If you have any comments, any questions, then place them in the comments box underneath the video, and I will see you again next week.